Once upon a time, not very long ago, a little princess was born. Her fairy godmothers came to bring her gifts. "What a clever baby," said one. "Perhaps she'll be a brain surgeon." "Or a captain of industry," said another. "Or a government minister," said the third. Suddenly, wicked Aunt Tabitha arrived. She had not been invited. "What a pretty little girl," she said. "My wish for her is that when she is 16, she will learn to type." To keep the princess from her fate, typewriters were banished from the realm. Anyone seen with a bottle of correcting fluid was punished immediately. Princess Ella grew up and went to school, then on to college, where one day when she was 16 years old, she was summoned for a careers interview. Now, wicked Aunt Tabitha had disguised herself as a careers advisor in order to trick the princess. She led her to a typewriter and bade her try it. But as soon as her fingers touched the keys, the princess fell into a deep sleep. Time passed, until one day the princess awoke to find her godmother saying, "Get up! The dark night of sex-segregated employment is over," cried one. "Are you sure this clock isn't a little fast?" asked another. "Nonsense," said the third. "This is the age of equality, and it's time you got yourself a good job."
"Oh no,"
said the princess.
"I've been seriously misinformed about career opportunities."
And determined to make up for lost time, the princess rushed off to seek a job with prospects. After a while, she came upon a little workplace in the woods. The staff were all out in the forest doing their fire drill. The princess knocked and nobody answered. So in she went. She was tired and looked for somewhere to sit down. First, she tried a factory chair, but it was too hard. Then she tried an office chair, but it was too rickety. And then she tried the chief executive's chair, and it was very comfortable, and she liked that best of all. Then she felt hungry. She tried the factory worker's lunch, but it was too greasy. And she tried the office worker's lunch, but it was too small. And then she tried the chief executive's lunch, and she liked that best of all. Before long, the workers came back, and one of them said, "Who's been sitting on my chair?"
"Actually, I'm looking for a job,"
said the princess. "You've come for an interview? Wait here," she was told. And very soon, a charming prince appeared with a glass slipper for her to try on. It fitted, and he offered her a job. She was overjoyed.
"Are there advancement opportunities?"
"For the right person, certainly," he replied. "If you don't mind a bit of hard work, you can start immediately." Princess Ella worked hard at her new job.
"Someday my promotion will come."
One morning, the messenger brought her colleague Tom an invitation to meet the board and discuss his future. Next day, Tom was promoted, and Dick took his place.
"My turn soon."
The princess worked harder and better than before. But soon, Dick was invited to the board meeting. Next day, he was promoted and replaced by Harry. Princess Ella worked harder and better than ever. But soon after, when she was passed by again, she fell into despair.
"I've worked harder and better than anyone in this department. Why have Tom, Dick and Harry been promoted and not me?"
At that moment, her fairy godmothers appeared. "Princess Ella, you too shall go to the board," they cried. Using a magic charm, they got her an appointment with the chairman himself. Then they gave her a smart new outfit to wear. The princess took a portfolio of her best work to show the chairman. But to her surprise, he suggested they take a walk in the forest.
What a big space you must have in your diary, Mr. Chairman.
All the better to see you in, my dear, he replied.
What big hands you've got, Mr. Chairman.
All the better to paw you with, my dear, he replied.
Chairman, you're a big bad wolf.
Don't you want your promotion? He snarled.
Not on your terms. I'm calling in the union. And these bloody shoes are killing me as well,
muttered Princess Ella.
I've had enough of this place, glass slippers and all.
And so the princess set off again to seek her fortune. Fantasyland seemed a good place to look for a job. The king in charge needed dragon slayers. But the princess and John were the only applicants. The king sent them off in different directions. When evening came, John stopped for a rest. And so did the princess. In the morning, she rose early, slew a couple of dragons, and went home. Next day, she brought the dragons' heads to the king. Suddenly, they heard the sound of trumpets and the town crier. "Hear ye, hear ye! John the Dragon Slayer has returned triumphant." The king was impressed. "John," he said, "you shall henceforth be my chief dragon slayer, and Princess Ella shall be assistant dragon slayer with special responsibility for baby dragons, emotionally disturbed teenage dragons, and elderly dependent dragons."
Wait a minute, Your Majesty. I thought you stood for equal opportunities.
"But of course I do," the king replied. "Here in Fantasyland we have an equal opportunities policy this thick. I have a woman minister. My women subjects go on courses to improve their prospects, and I even give childcare vouchers to working mothers. You can't say fairer than that, can you?" The king turned to his magic mirror. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest king of all?" "Not you, Your Majesty," came the reply. "You've got bias written all over you." "How can this be?" cried the king. Suddenly the fairy godmothers appeared. "Look more closely at your kingdom," they said. "Your woman minister, she's a bit of a token, isn't she? Your courses simply adapt women to be more like men, and you still think mothers are the only ones with responsibility for children. Your equal opportunities policy is just a mirage." Chastened, the king asked another question. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, how can I be fairest of all?" And the mirror replied, "Perhaps you could start with sexism awareness training, O king." The princess decided she must be going.
It's time for me to make a serious career move. I want to run one of the castles in this empire.
Her godmothers gave her some good advice. For a senior position like that, you'll have to apply to the Palace of Power. But the way is long and hard and dangerous. You must cross the gender salary gap and do battle with the White Knight of the River. He will seize you if he can and cast you into the typing pool. If you get by him, you must pass over the lonely mountains. There dwells an ice queen who will try to stop you. But if you can reach the Velvet Grotto, you will find help. The ice queen long ago had climbed to the top of her mountain, and the struggle, hard work, and isolation had frozen her heart. She cast a spell on the princess, but remembering her godmother's advice, Ella reached the Velvet Grotto just in time. There dwelt a noble lady who had 7 heads. Head of personnel, head of admin, head of public relations, head of market research, and heads of training, welfare, and catering. Since girlhood, this lady had remained in her grotto of velvet, using her magic powers to heal and help those who entered her domain. But, she said, she was forbidden to climb the high peaks or approach the Emperor's palace.
Is that why you've only got 1 pair of feet?
Yes, dear, she replied. The jobs I have don't go anywhere. Soon the princess was ready to go on. As a parting gift, the lady gave her a magic laptop. If you want real status, wealth, and influence, you must take the path which leads to the Palace of Power. As the princess drew near the palace, 7 men were entering the gates. Their names were dozy, weary, lazy, bossy, grumpy, greedy, and shifty. She followed them in. They were muttering amongst themselves. There's a woman in here. Another one? Where are they coming from? How can we stop them? Let's ignore them. Exclude them.
Excuse me?
Interrupt them. Patronize them. Belittle them. Give them menial tasks. Proposition them. Women. They always take things so personally. No sense of proportion. And they all went off to play golf. At last, the princess came face to face with the emperor.
I want to be in charge of one of the castles in this empire.
Then you must submit to my selection procedure, he replied. But you will be filed in the bin if you answer no to any question. First question. Are you a man?
As good as, Your Highness.
Next question, he went on. Are you exactly 35 years old?
Yes, I am, as a matter of fact.
Are you free of domestic ties? He asked. Can you give total commitment, work all hours?
If necessary.
Then we'll test your management skills, snorted the emperor. These are the Augean accounts. They've got 3,000 clients, they've not been audited for 30 years, and I want them balanced by tomorrow morning. With that, he left her alone. Quickly, the princess opened her magic laptop and designed a number-crunching program. The accounts were soon finished, and next day the emperor was forced to take her on. Very well, he said. You can be one of my high flyers. When a suitable castle becomes available, I'll let you know. The princess flew up to join some other high flyers circling overhead.
Which way do I go now?
Nowhere, they replied. You've reached the glass ceiling. We're doomed to stay here forever.
Can't we get past it?
No, they said. The men at the top won't promote us. And you're the privileged ones, came a voice from below. Some of us have a sticky floor to contend with as well.
This calls for some networking. We've got to prove that equality makes economic sense at all levels of employment, and discrimination loses money.
What's this? Said the emperor soon afterwards. How to get even richer. A report on the economics of the glass ceiling. He spoke to his secretary. I'm very busy this morning, so I can't receive any messengers. Could you handle the empire till about tea time? Certainly, she replied. I'm thinking of restoring friendly relations with Utopia and drawing up a trade agreement. If that's all right, Emperor. Oh, right-ho. Carry on, said the Emperor, and went off to study the economics of the glass ceiling. So, he pondered, promoting women would save the empire money and bring financial benefits. But I'm comfortable working with chaps like me. Change is so different. he was interrupted by the 3 fairy godmothers. "Don't be afraid," one said, "but you'd better learn to adapt. Look, the workforce is changing, and there are new ways of doing things." "People like it," said the second godmother. "Now you can draw on a bigger pool of talent, have shorter hours, and make work more flexible at all levels. Give the high flyers a chance to stretch their wings," added the third godmother. "I've decided," announced the Emperor. "Removing the glass ceiling would be good for all of us, and it would clinch the trade deal with Utopia," murmured his secretary. "There are a few castles in need of new management, as it happens," the Emperor continued, "and I myself have decided to go part-time. The Empress and I are about to have a baby. I'd like to spend more time at home with my family. From now on, my secretary and I will be reigning on a job-share basis." "Oh, Emperor," sighed his secretary, "I thought you'd never ask."